Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. I thought I'd show you guys how really easy it is to make bread at home. So a lot of people shy away from making their own bread because they think it's difficult. My favorite kind of bread is like the French baguettes or like the French bread, but I don't like my French bread or baguettes with a really thick crust. So I've actually come up with a way to make somewhat of like a French bread that still has the nice spongy middle with a thick crust, but that's not crunchy. I don't mind the thicker crust, but I just don't like the crunchy crust. Whenever I bite into it, it like makes a mess. So I like somewhat of a thick crust, but for it not to be really crispy. But I do really like that real nice spongy, and stretchy dough that's in the middle of the bread. I really like that. So I came up with a way that is extremely, extremely easy, and you're going to see how easy it is. There is only one drawback to this method. If you want your bread to come out with good flavor, okay, it takes time. So this recipe that I'm doing, it only takes probably about 20 minutes of actual interaction with your dough and the making of your dough, but it takes about a day and a half to actually finish it because you have to let the dough rest for several hours in between. All right, and I'm going to show you in this video. I'm going to take you through the full process of beginning all the way to the end, to when I bake it, to when it's done, and I'll cut it and everything so you can see exactly what it looks like. So I'm going to try something new with this video. Obviously, it's going to be a multi-part video. However, I'm going to try and see if I can edit all of the parts into one video. That way I don't have to have 3 or 4 different parts that you have to be clicking on. Okay, so we're going to start off, and the recipe is extremely simple. You're going to need some yeast, okay? It can be active yeast, or it can be the yeast that you have to warm up first. It doesn't matter. I've done it with both, and both of them work, okay? You're going to need some sugar. You're going to need some salt. You're going to need some water. That's it. You're going to need a little bit of oil later on, but not really a lot. Oil is not really part of the ingredients. Oil is really just going to like help your dough stay, what should I call it? It'll keep it from forming a skin when you're letting the dough rise and rest, okay? So right now, as you can see in here, this is my sifter, by the way. It's my ladle that I use to get deep fried foods out of the pot, but it works well as a sifter. And I don't want to get a sifter just for sifting flour when this works just as fine. And then I don't have something else to be putting in my cupboard. But I've already sifted 2 2 2/3 cup of flour, and I'm going to go ahead and put another 1/3 cup. This recipe calls for 3 cups of flour, and then just a little bit of flour left over to handle the dough with later on. And the reason I use 1/3 cups to measure instead of like cups is because for this, 1/3 works perfect. 1/3 of a cup on top of the sifter works perfect. Now, if you have a big sifter where you can put a whole cup, doesn't matter. Either way, you're fine. Okay. So you can see I'm just sifting in there. If there's any clumps, I'll go ahead and see. And there you go. There's 3 cups of flour in there. Okay, I'm going to move my flour to the side over here. So next, I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 tablespoon of sugar. Okay. Actually, I put 1.5. Now, a lot of people ask, what's the sugar for? The sugar is not really necessarily for flavor, although I'm sure it adds a little bit. But really, what the sugar is mainly for, is it gives the bacteria that is produced from the yeast, it gives them food to eat, and it allows them to do their work. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add tablespoon and a half of your yeast, and I'm going to add a tablespoon of salt. The salt does give it flavor, by the way. And that, ladies and gentlemen, those are all of your dry ingredients. Okay, those are all of your dry ingredients. That's all you need. Now, before you put water in it, this is how I like to do my dough. This is really not, you don't have to be kneading this dough intensively. Like I said, there's very little interaction with this dough. All right, so before I put the water in there, I'm just going to go ahead and mix everything in. That way everything is somewhat evenly distributed throughout the flour. Okay, so you're going to see how simple this is. And there's really no excuse for anyone not to make this. I mean, this is really easy. If you have an oven, and as you can see later on, I'm not even going to cook this in my oven. I'm going to cook this in my New Wave. I have one of those countertop New Wave ovens. And if you all don't know what that is, you'll see towards the end of the video when I put this in the oven. You'll see what that is. I love cooking in that thing. I like cooking in it or baking in it better than I like baking in my range oven. Okay. Now that everything is pretty well incorporated in there, I took 2 cups of water, okay, and I heated it up to about 110 degrees. So try to heat it up to between 110 and 120. If you go a little bit over 120, that's not that big of a deal. The reason you don't want to heat your water up too hot is because if you do, it will kill that yeast. It'll kill the bacteria in there. But depending on how cold your environment is, sometimes you can get away with heating it up a little bit more. Now, I always leave a little bit of water behind just to make sure that I don't over water it. And this is it. This is the hardest part right here, ladies and gentlemen. All you do is you're going to go ahead and... This is kind of like the dough hook in your KitchenAid if you have a KitchenAid. I have a KitchenAid, but to me, doing this is somewhat therapeutic. I enjoy doing this. There used to be a time when my son used to live at the house also, and when obviously my wife and my daughter aren't here, they still have a little bit to go before they get back. But when we used to go through a lot of bread, and making this bread, as you can see, I used 3 cups of flour. So I'm only assuming that this is probably about, I would say about 1/5 of a 5-pound bag of flour. So as you can see, the flour that I bought the other day, I paid $1 for a 5-pound bag. So let's just say I pay regular price. Let's say I paid $3. All right, for a 5-pound bag of flour. All right, let's see you got everything at full price. So, and let's say that I'm using $1 worth of flour. This is only costing me about $1, maybe $1.25 to make this bread. When you take the flour and the little bit of yeast and sugar that you're using to make it. So this is actually costing me a lot less because, as you know, I got that flour for a really good price. And actually the flour I'm using now is flour that I have stored away for a couple of years. And I got that flour even cheaper because when I bought it, I got it in bulk. Okay, so this bread I'm making here is costing me less than $1 to make, and this is going to be the equivalent of anywhere between 5 to 6 French baguettes or French bread pieces, and they're pretty good sized pieces too. So now that you see that consistency right there, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to knead it just a little bit. It doesn't take a lot. You know what? I forgot to wash my hands. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay. Okay. And kneading is very easy. Right? You just keep kneading this. It should only take you a few minutes. It doesn't have to be perfect. This does not have to be a perfect little round ball of dough. You know, like I said, this is a very easy, simple recipe. Put a little flour in my hand so it doesn't get all stuck to it. And you saw that I put a little bit of flour in my fingers so that they wouldn't get really stuck to this. But you don't want to add any more flour. As you can see, I didn't use all of my water. I probably have about 1/4 cup left. And I always put a little less water than what I had ready, just in case. Okay, so you see how everything is right there? Let me clean these sides off. Okay. That right there is all you need, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? That is all you need to do for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little bit of olive oil. Okay? That's maybe 1/4 teaspoon. Just a little bit of olive oil. You don't have to put the olive oil on the sides of your plate or anything like that, of your bowl. That right there is all you need to do. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up into a small ball here. Okay, that's our stage number 1. That's what it looks like. Give me a second here as I wash my hand off. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this up with some plastic. And if you live in a warmer climate, like here, it's June, but the lows are still in the very low 50s or high 40s. So the lows are still pretty low, even though our highs have reached as high as 70 in the past week. If you live in a warmer climate, it may not take as long for your dough to double in size. But what I will do is, and even if it doubles in size, don't go by that. Try it, unless it starts to overflow. If you live in a really warm climate, it may do that. But the last time I made this, it took about 8 to 10 hours before the dough just about touched the top of this plastic. Okay, so now I'm going to take this dough, I'm going to put it in my microwave, I'm going to leave it there, forget about it for the next 8 to 12 hours. I'll check it in about 8 hours and see what it looks like, but more than likely it'll be about 12 hours because like I said, it's still pretty, chilly up here. We're still averaging probably, if it was average between the low and the high, we're probably averaging in the 60s or in the high 50s as far as average throughout the day. So I'm going to put this in my microwave, I'm going to come back, and then we'll take it up from there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you back here in about 12 hours my time. Should be about 1 or 2 seconds your time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I almost goofed this one up. I took the dough out of the microwave and I started kneading it, forgetting to start recording this. So when I took it out, it was probably up to around here. It was probably about 3/4 of the way, if not a little bit higher. I grabbed my little handy dandy spatula here to get it off the sides. And I wet my hand a little bit so it wouldn't be that sticky. But all we have to do now is more waiting. So once you get it off the sides, just knead it for a couple of minutes, not too long. You don't want to knead it for that long. Same thing as we did before. And remember, putting it in the microwave or putting it in your oven for all these hours, it's been about 12 hours since I did this last. So putting it in there for another 12 hours, what that's going to do is that's going to really give this bread some really good flavor. Okay? That's what it's going to do. Let me wet my hands a little bit. Okay. There we go. That's going to give this bread some really good flavor. I can smell the yeast on it. It's not a strong smell, but I can definitely smell it. And that's all you need to do. Punch it down. Punch it down. Let's go ahead and put a tiny bit of oil on it again like we did last time. And I'm going to let this thing sit there all the way overnight. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to knead it again. And then I'm going to shape it into the bread that I want to bake. So you can see I'm doing the same thing I did this morning. There you go. Put a little bit of oil in there. Should be good to go. Let me wash my hands real quick. My hand. We're going to go ahead and cover it back up with the same piece of plastic that I had before. See, you see what I mean? Making this bread is not labor intensive. It takes a while to make, but most of the time that you spend actually working with the bread is very minimal. I was actually talking to some of my workmates today, trying to teach them how to make bread. And they're like, no, we don't want you to teach us. We just want you to bring it in. They're like, there's no way I'm going to take a day and a half or 2 days to make bread. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I will get back to this video here tomorrow. This was very short. But tomorrow morning when I take this out of the microwave, I'll remember to have it recording so you can see how high it gets. And then we'll shape it into the pieces of bread we want to make. And then I'll put it in the oven. Or we'll have to wait, let it rest some after we shape it. Then I'll show it putting it in the oven and I'll show you the final product. So we will see you then. Good morning, everyone. It's been about, I want to say about 10 to 11 hours since I last handled this dough. And this time I didn't forget to show you guys what it looks like before I punched it down. So when I had it in the microwave, I always put this towel over it to help insulate it just a little bit. And let's see. Yes, you can see there, it about doubled, 2.5 times the size that it was before. So now we can go ahead and work it and shape it into the shape that we want it to be. So let's take a look. I'm going to put a little bit of flour, just a little bit, in my hands. Remember not to add too much flour to this. And I'm going to need my little spatula as well to get it off the sides. It's still a little bit sticky, and that's the way you want it to be. If it's too dry, it's going to come out crumbly. And it's just not going to be that great. But you see how nice and sticky it is right here. It's going to come out nice and chewy in the center with a nice thick crust this way. I'm going to take a little bit of flour, put it in my surface here. I wish I had a really, really big surface. But this is what I've got. All right. You can see I got just about all of it out of there. It's good. Put this here on my sink. Now we'll be able to just knead it just a little bit, not too much. Put a little flour on the bottom there so it won't stick. Okay, just start kneading it now. We're not going to knead this too much. As you can see, if you remember how it started out, it looked kind of clumpy and all. But I told you, as time went by, the consistency is going to get a lot better. Now it's a lot smoother, even though it's still a little wet. But that's how you want it to be. You don't want it to be too dry. Okay? And in case for you that don't really know how to knead that much, all you do is grab it, pick it up, bring it down, and push. Grab it, pick it up, bring it down, and push. Always doing about 45 degrees, roughly. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm going to handle this thing. I'm not going to handle it too much more. But if you can see, here, let me get a little flour here. Okay, still wants to stick, but it wants to stick, but it's not really that sticky. I'm not losing any product. Now we're going to take that and cut it up into 4 pieces. Let me see if I can find my tool real quick. If not, I'll just do it. I'll just cheat, I guess. Let's see. Cut it up into 4 pieces that are pretty even. That's 1, 2. Well, let's do more than that. Let's do a lot of little pieces. Okay. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, the pieces don't have to be perfectly even. You know, you're not making this so that you can sell it in a store or something like that. You're making it so that you can eat it. And so that it can taste good. Okay, so you don't have to go crazy trying to measure it. When I first started doing this, I tried measuring it and, you know, putting it on a scale, trying to make every piece of dough like perfect. As you can see right there, that right there is just fine. If you want to stretch it out just a little bit, you can. All right, that's 1 piece. Now I've got my New Wave oven. I've got the stand all ready for it. I'm just going to place them on there. And I'll show you all what that looks like as soon as I'm done with these. But this won't take too long. Okay, that's 2. And guess what we have to do after this, ladies and gentlemen, after we put these in the stand? We have to wait again. We won't have to wait that long this time, though. We only have to wait a couple hours, maybe 3, so that the dough can rest and it can do one final rise. Okay, as you can see, I'm not very fancy with this, and I don't ever mean to be. Well, got a pretty busy day planned today. This is Saturday. And of course I still have to do the Twilight Zone, but today I'm working on my house's siding. I've got a buddy coming over to help me out. So hopefully we can get a lot done today. I think my son's coming over tomorrow. I'm hoping to get all the siding done that I need to get done between today and tomorrow, because the back side of my house, I'm not going to put the siding up there until I have the deck put up, because I'm putting a deck along the entire back side of my house. And I'm not going to be putting any siding up there. Oh, need some flour. I'm not going to put the siding up until after I got that deck up, because it's going to be much easier putting that siding up after I got that deck up than trying to work off a ladder and putting siding up. All right, a couple more pieces here, and we'll be good to go. Okay. Almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Hang in there. It's going to be worth it. I hope you guys are going to try this recipe at home, or try doing this at home. I almost don't like calling it a recipe because it's so simple. Just a few ingredients, and you're going to have yourself some tasty bread. I think that the most important ingredient of making this bread is having the patience to wait for so long in between rises. But this is the last piece right here. I'm going to put it here, flatten it out a little bit, and let me show you what it looks like. That's my new oven Wave base. If any of you have one of these new ovens, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is just the base of where the top cover goes. And the top that, let me see if I can bring it over here. I was going to show it on the next video, show me putting it on there, but I can always bring it here. Okay. This is what it's going to look like when it goes on. It's going to look like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, though, is I am going to take this back off. I'm going to give this a little bit of spray with canola oil. And you don't have to you don't have to use canola oil. You can use olive oil and do it with your hands. I just find this a lot easier. After this, ladies and gentlemen, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put plastic over it. Once I put the plastic over it, I'll put the base over to trap in the gases. And then after that, I'm going to let it wait until it rises. Now, when this rises, a lot of these will probably be stuck together, and that's fine. If it looks like a big blob and they're all stuck together, that's fine. Don't touch it from here on. And I don't even bother scoring the bread. I just let it go natural. Okay? So once these are risen and they're ready to start baking, I will be back. And until then, we'll talk to you later, ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen, I'm back. So here you go. This is what it looks like after you've let it set for a while. You see how they are all kind of touching each other? And this is what you want it to look like. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the plastic off. And if you have a new wave oven, you just put it on there. And I set it to the highest level, level number 9. And I do it for 25 minutes. And after 25 minutes, I come and take a look at it. If the top looks nice and brown, then I take them and I flip them upside down, and then I do it for another 10 minutes for the bottom. That way the bottom can build a nice crust as well. But I will show you that what it looks like when they're done here in about 30 minutes or so, 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so, when they get done, and you'll see what they're like, and I'll even cut a piece open and let you see what the inside looks like. Okay, so I will see you back in about 35, 40 minutes. Alrighty, they're done, ladies and gentlemen. So I just took these out of the oven about 5 minutes ago. I let them rest a little. They're still really, really warm. But as you can see, this is what it looks like once they're done. So first I wanted to cover this. So we ended up having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of these pieces. So at my local Fred Meyer's, something like this would go for anywhere between $5 to $6. Okay? And I think, I know I'm somewhat partial or biased, but I think that this here, what I just made, tastes much better than the bread that I get at Fred Meyer's or at any store, really. Because they mass produce it and it kind of tastes bland when you get over there. Okay? So something like this is going to cost about $5, $6. It probably cost me less than $1 to make this. Now, yes, it took a long time. The process took a long time, but the actual time that I spent handling the dough and the bread didn't really take a long time. It's just a matter of letting that yeast and the bacteria do their work so that you can come up with a good product. And remember I told you that they were all going to stick together and stuff, but that's just fine because they come apart really nice and easy. See? Just take them right apart. And it's not a problem. And as you can see, it's got a nice crust. I don't know if you can hear this. Okay? The bottom is not as crispy as the top, but that's to be expected. I actually took these and flipped them on their top so that I can cook some of the bottom, get the crust on the bottom a little bit harder. But as you can see, it came out very nice. And I haven't eaten any lunch yet, so I'm going to cut this open and I'm going to put some butter on it. I want you guys to see what it looks like And if you can hear that, it does have a bit of a crust, but it's not really, really hard. It's still a little bit warm. So here's what it looks like. Came out really nice. You take these pieces right here. I mean, this right here, if you make them a little more round, they can make an awesome hamburger bun. Or my favorite way to eat these is just with some butter on it. Some butter on it and have a cup of coffee. Very good. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of butter on these. I'm going to let it sit there so they can melt a little bit. And as you can see, it's melting right up because it's still pretty warm. So I hope you're all having a good day. I'm taking a break right now. I've been outside all morning putting siding on the house. One of my buddies came over and helped me for a few hours. And now I'm just taking a break for a couple of hours or so because my feet are starting to hurt. And then I'm going to go out there and tackle whatever I can tackle on by myself. And hopefully tomorrow, my good son will come over here and help me out. Oops, I dropped a little piece of butter. We can't do that. I'm going to show you this butter that I use also that is so, so good. Let me see. I think this butter comes from France. It's called President. Yeah, it comes from France. It's imported from France, and it's really, really good. It's supposed to be all natural, made from cows that are grass-fed. So, and it tastes really great. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that is really how easy it is to make a really nice, tasty bread. And I know this is going to be really, really good. Okay, so I really hope that you guys make this and try it out because this recipe is so simple and easy to make, and it's just having a little bit of patience. Okay, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm hoping that I don't have to break the video up into parts and that I can edit it all into one video, but we shall see. I'll try to have it done today, Saturday, and upload it sometime later on today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for hanging in there and sticking around for this. I hope it was worth your time. I know it will be worth mine because I'm looking at this and I really want to eat it now. So, having said that, remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I will see you tomorrow for our Q&A. For Q&A Sunday. All right, so have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the outdoors because it's beautiful out there today. I hope it's nice where you're at. And having said that, have a good day. This is Alaska Prepper. I'm out.